This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details. It's everyone's favorite time of the year here on Nintendo World Report, a time when a bunch of staff members who usually get along wind up fighting each other to the death in order to determine which games of the previous year should be honored by our coveted yearly Nintendo World Report Game Awards. Over the course of the year, the staff have been adding their picks to multiple award categories and recently got together on a group call to hash out the final winners. The discussion was at times brutal, funny, insane, disturbing, and many of the choices will leave you scratching your heads. Of course, those who want to hear how it all went down can listen to the entire discussion by supporting the site over on Patreon. Please consider it, as even a little bit can go a long way to supporting this completely volunteer site. In this video, we'll be covering all the winners of each category in addition to our top 10 entries for Game of the Year. If you'd like to hear our thoughts on the runners-up of each award as well as our top 5 Nindie games of the year, you can check out the full article on our website at nintendoworldreport.com. So buckle up, get ready, and prepare to be amazed and baffled at Nintendo World Report's 2019 Game Awards.
A sequel to or re-release of the original Super Mario Maker was all but inevitable, and we received the former during the summer of 2019. However, in many ways, Super Mario Maker 2 has failed to live up to its predecessor, most notably in terms of its online modes and accessibility. Multiplayer with friends was eventually added in a post-launch patch, but online multiplayer, co-op, or competitive continues to be a laggy mess for many players. The drip feed of new content, including a bounty of amiibo costumes, has been absent from the sequel, and with it, enthusiasm from the creator community seems to have dissipated. The ability to find and share courses is also more restricted. The Wii U game made a compelling reason to invest in that console, but the same cannot be said for the Switch game. A year-end update added a neat Link costume with new mechanics and abilities, but the Nindie speedrun mode hasn't really delivered. Ultimately, the core of Super Mario Maker 2 is great, but the lack of polish, inaccessible modes, and unfulfilled potential make it the biggest disappointment of 2019.
The fourth Fire Emblem game has taken on a near-mythical status outside of Japan since its release in 1996. And with the 25th anniversary of the game coming up, this is the perfect time to make Selip's story known. Genealogy of the Holy War is the first Fire Emblem that implemented such series staples as the weapon triangle and support systems, and the two-generation nature of the story could be considered the progenitor of Awakening's parent and child mechanics, and even a forerunner to the time skip in Three Houses. The game's story is apparently a quality melodrama, but I want to see it for myself, and I'm also scientifically curious about the boiling point of a protagonist's father. As one of the final games produced by Gunpei Yokoi, there's a historical element to the title that I'd be interested in seeing if modern Nintendo would acknowledge it. As one of the best-selling classic Fire Emblem games, it'd be great to see this adventure before we move on to another new take on the franchise, and if they go the expansion pass route, we could see it topped off with the direct interquel Thracia 776, which only released on the Super Famicom in 1999, a mere 2 years before the launch of the GameCube. It seems as though this could happen soon. Some big-name voice actors in Japan have voiced the characters that have appeared in Fire Emblem Heroes. Here's hoping that the next stop on the Fire Emblem train is a visit to the long-lost world of Jugdral.
Crimson Moon consists of 2 parts. It encompasses both a massive free update and optional paid DLC. While the free update and much of the DLC is available on all platforms, the Switch version receives exclusive Star Fox content. A fitting bonus, given that the Switch version was purported to represent as much as 80% of the total sales of Starlink. The Crimson Moon itself adds racing and horde modes along with multiple new quest lines. The new Star Fox story sees the rest of Star Wolf joining Wolf in yet another scheme to gain power. Falco, Slippy, and Peppy also join Fox's playable characters, each with their own unique abilities. Crimson Moon and its assorted free and paid content are all of solid quality. Some of the best content is in fact free, meaning that even if you're done spending money on Starlink, it's worth taking the time to revisit it for this free update. If you're hankering for more Star Fox adventures, no pun intended, then take that extra step and call in the team. Ultimately, it serves as an unexpected but welcome send-off to a game that sadly ended too soon. For the faithful, attach that giant plastic R-Wing to your Joy-Con one last time and head back into Atlas.
As a Banjo fan for life, there was nothing better than seeing Banjo and Kazooie announced for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. When they were announced at the end of Nintendo's E3 presentation, we saw firsthand the explosion of joy from the attendees of E3 throughout the Los Angeles Convention Center, and the internet at large had just as strong a reaction. For nearly 2 decades, Banjo and Kazooie were the white whale of the Smash roster, having been a perfect fit with the late 90s, early 2000s icons of Super Smash Bros. Melee, but hopes were sadly dashed once Rare was sold to Microsoft, locking the barren bird to a competitor's console seemingly forevermore. But of course, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is all about making the impossible possible. Everything was created perfectly. The stage was perfect, the music was perfect, and they looked perfect. That day, Banjo and Kazooie finally came home to Nintendo, and you couldn't have asked for anything more.
Star Fox 2 went from being a lost work of art to a game available only on a very limited console, to a game every Switch Online subscriber now has. This is a gaming fairy tale the likes of which are almost never seen, and that alone makes it one of the most important games of the decade. But on top of that, not only is it an amazing story in gaming history, it's also a fantastic game. Star Fox 2 blends action and strategy in a way rarely seen again to this day. While the Star Fox series would ultimately go on without it, Star Fox 2 is, in many ways, the most ambitious and expansive game in the entire series.
We can debate the quality of Genesis Aladdin and the SNES Genesis Lion King games for a long time, but it would be hard to find a more loving collection of retro games in recent memory. In addition to expert emulation of the 90s Disney games, this package from Digital Eclipse features oodles of documentary footage and never-before-seen artwork about a pair of games that were made under tight circumstances with access to some of the best animators on the planet. The overall package paints a magical portrait that peers into the world of Disney and video games in the era.
Koei Tecmo started the year with some pretty typical games of their own. Some Atelier re-releases here, a Muso there. Then came July 2019, and a funny thing happened. Nintendo had 3 first-party published games, and Koei Tecmo was involved in all of them. Omega Force aided with Dragon Quest Builders 2, Team Ninja got in on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and the whole company lifted Fire Emblem 3 Houses to massive sales and critical acclaim. And once the dust subsided, Atelier Ryza came out in October and turned the long-running franchise on its head with a brand new experience.
You're a dinosaur. All these monkeys need to be taken down a peg or 2. The goosening has begun.
While Touryst is also a graphical achievement, it is the art design that truly brings it a step above the rest. The full and effective use of the color spectrum breathes life into the various islands you visit, making the whole experience feel like the type of dream vacation you only see during REM sleep.
The real beauty of Luigi's Mansion isn't the graphical fidelity, which is excellent, but the wonderful animation and characterization of Luigi Polterpup, and all the ghosts inhabiting the Last Resort Hotel. It's hard to beat the dance floor area where breakdancing ghosts get their groove on to the sick beats of the DJ. Luigi's supposed to be fighting the ghosts for an elevator button, but even he can't help but snap his fingers to the beat. It's little things like this that put Next Level Games in a league of their own when it comes to graphics and art design. Luigi and Co. have never looked so expressive. The stitches in fabric, the specular hits on slimy, opaque ghost ooze, the jiggling Luigi. This game is a visual treat.
After working in the sound department for a number of Platinum-developed games, as well as last year's runner-up for this category, Torna the Golden Country, Astral Chain is the first composing credit for Satoshi Igarashi, and he knocked it out of the park right away. An unforgettable mix of techno and orchestral rock, Astral Chain's soundtrack perfectly sets the mood for the futuristic arc that the game takes place in, and allows the many silly and convoluted story beats to rise above the lackluster writing that mars the plot. Gameplay is accented with exciting, hype-building compositions that live up to the high standards set by Platinum's past work, and the cheesy anime opening ties everything up in a wonderful, ridiculous bow. Anime aesthetics reigned supreme in 2019, and Astral Chain's music is the cornerstone to that aesthetic success in the latest new IP to join the ranks of Nintendo's storied franchises.
Sky turns west, swallowing up each and every being in this town. Hopes, hearts, everything is falling down.
Far away in the skyline, a crowd of apparitions crawling around. It's calling, growing louder.
Are we the future of this burning hell? It's a fight for a paradise, fight for our lives. So keep holding on until we break the sound.
The work of CD Projekt Red and Saber Interactive cannot be overstated when it comes to the astounding port of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. While we often look at Switch ports in terms of what was cut, what serves Witcher 3 better is a look at what was preserved. Characters are richly detailed. The rising and setting sun illuminates semi-translucent foliage while casting god rays across lush environments. Water reacts to real-time screen space reflections and realistically reacts to the player. Ambient occlusion and motion blur fill out every scene. This is a game that defies the perceived limitations of its platform and redefines the possibilities of a handheld game. On top of all of this, the entire game, including both large-scale DLC packs, is on the cartridge. No extra install, just a packed 32 gig card that stands in stark contrast to other third-party ports from Bethesda and Rockstar. This is not only a great port, it sets the bar for how ports should be released on a platform built for quick portability rather than lengthy downloads and massive installs.
Since launch, every time I've had friends over, we've put multiple hours into Killer Queen Black. The ability to connect 2 switches for 8-player local multiplayer is really cool, and it's incredibly easy for new or less seasoned players to figure out how to play. Matches are fast-paced and almost always come down to the wire. I can say for certain that Killer Queen Black will be in our party game rotation for years to come.
No one knew they wanted Tetris Battle Royale until it happened. Announced in the February Nintendo Direct, this online-only game features a dynamite game mode where 99 players enter and only one leaves. When it first launched, the game seemingly just appeared with no explanation. The first week was filled with discovery and the most intense Tetris I've ever played in my life. It's breathtaking how strategies and competitiveness developed so quickly. On the first day, Tetris 99 was almost a gentle stroll by comparison. By the end of the first week, it was a thrilling hellscape, where one false early move could mean 10 people teamed up on you and filled your screen with garbage. While some sort of tutorial could go a long way, if you're down to break blocks, Tetris 99 is an immaculate online experience.
Number 5, Mextermination Force. Number 4, Ape Out. Number 3, Baba Is You. Number 2, Super Mega Baseball 2. And the winner is Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Can you tell? Does it show? I'm alone in a city of ghosts. I wake to the howling silence.
Immediately after I finished the demo for Sayonara Wild Hearts at PAX East, I paused. I was playing it handheld, nestled inside of Annapurna's booth. I had headphones on. Could I wondered, get away with playing through the demo again? Unfortunately, I had to shuffle to another appointment, but I would have been content romping through the dazzling and magical showcase of Simogo's bright, beautiful rhythm adventure. It's a pop album come to life, with engaging but soothing rhythm gameplay complementing the smooth, soaring songs that span the course of the short but very sweet experience. Even in its brevity, Sayonara Wild Hearts is a gorgeous and mesmerizing game that is blissful from beginning to end.
For a full list of our top 5 Nindies of the year, check out the full article on our website at NintendoWorldReport.com. But at long last, it's time to honor the very best of the best, our Game of the Year. However, in a year with so many incredible games, we couldn't name just one and call it a day. So here is Nintendo World Report's top 10 games of 2019. These were the best games to close out the decade, starting with number 10, Mario Kart Tour. Within days of its September launch, Mario Kart Tour quickly became one of the strongest mobile games that Nintendo has ever made, next to Fire Emblem Heroes, while also breathing new life into elements of Mario Kart that have been soundly ignored for the past decade. Tour brings in single-player content in an engrossing way with rotating 2-week tours of new cups and challenges, as well as a gacha system that is overall fair enough to not get bogged down by the overall terrible nature of gacha design. While the actual cost of the in-game gem currency is repugnant, the $5 a month gold pass in conjunction with the basic rewards given by playing the game give you enough of an influx of materials to regularly freshen up your pool of racers, karts, and gliders. In a way marginally better than how recent Mario Kart games have handled it, racers and kart parts are more than interchangeable pieces. They all have their own distinctive characteristics and bonuses. They can also be dazzlingly stupid, as recently shown by such winning heroes as Waluigi with British cab driver attire, Santa Mario, who still has his dark eyebrows, oh god, why? And Reindeer Yoshi. The small flourishes are delightful, the controls are all one-handed and might have aspects of being an acquired taste, but for a mobile game there is enough flexibility and customization into how you play that it all works well. The strongest recommendation we can give for Mario Kart Tour is that it has a number of elements that would no doubt strengthen the eventual Mario Kart 9 on Switch or a future console. The scores acquired by performing tricks and using items effectively work in tandem with the rotating weekly challenges to give a constant drive that is more than just win the race. But more than anything, as one of the few people who was disappointed in some aspects of Mario Kart 8, this game makes hopeful that Mario Kart can be great for solo players again.
Number 9, Baba Is You. Baba Is You is a mind-bending puzzle game that wrinkled my brain in more ways than basically any other game I've ever played has. It focuses on sentence structure and logic, in a similar way as Tomorrow Corporation's Human Resource Machine. However, Baba's implementation is far more approachable, even if it can still be baffling. The whole experience, which just keeps going and going, is endlessly inventive and smart. I might have spent 45 minutes hanging out with friends, trying to solve a puzzle that seemed simple at face value, but I've never felt more accomplished than when I finally cracked the code.
Number 8, Luigi's Mansion 3.
I'm still kind of surprised Luigi's Mansion 3 exists in the first place, but God bless Next Level Games and Nintendo for keeping this ghost-busting series going. This threequel, which finds our eponymous hero bravely exploring the many floors of the swanky new Last Resort Hotel, is undeniably one of the best games on Switch, much less the year. This is essentially Dark Moon's gameplay without that game's exhausting mission structure. Instead, Luigi traverses the hotel vertically, defeating bosses to acquire stolen elevator buttons. His standard poltergust techniques all carry over and are joined by an explosive jump and the ability to pull objects with plungers. While ghost catching remains central to the experience, Luigi's Mansion 3 is as much, if not more, of an exploration and puzzle-solving treat. The amount of detail and care taken into crafting every single room and hallway is stunning. Luigi, who you may remember from the 3DS remake of Luigi's Mansion, features heavily here. His, or its, presence allows the addition of couch co-op, and several puzzles and boss fights depend on using both Luigis to succeed. Solo adventurers can rest easy knowing that Luigi and his moist companion can be controlled together. And while some of the duel efforts are awkward, they're never difficult, even during relatively fast-moving boss battles. The real star here, though, is the animation and characterization. Luigi achieves new levels of cowardly charm, and his reactions to ghosts and hazards never ceases to delight. I will never stop chuckling at Luigi reticently tiptoeing down haunted hallways, his voice quivering as he calls to his missing brother. The normal enemy ghosts, which have all been pulled from Dark Moon with some minor design changes, also feature more nuanced portrayals. It's the boss ghosts, however, that steal the show. Supremely creative and full of personality, I was often more interested in just watching them than fighting them. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a wonderful game that every Switch owner should cherish.
Number 7. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. The Witcher 3 is one of the most ambitious open-world RPGs of the generation. The fact that the Switch is able to turn in a full-featured and complete port of this incredible game is nothing short of astounding. It is for this reason that despite its age, originally releasing in 2015, we felt that the Switch version of Witcher 3 deserved a spot on this list. On a system that is widely known for its impossible ports, Witcher 3 stands as the most impressive and most successful of them all. The combination of deep lore brought about through the works of Andrzej Sapkowski and an expansive world full of richly detailed side quests make Witcher 3 the kind of game that's perfect to curl up with in portable mode. Whether you're coming from the other games in the series, the original books, the Netflix series, or this is your entry point, Witcher 3 draws the player in and refuses to let go. Much like Breath of the Wild, a game that surely took inspiration from Witcher 3, this is a game you can play forever.
Number 6. Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. Dragon Quest XI's is an incredible traditional JRPG experience that illustrates how primarily adhering to expectations can produce something magical. Being able to play the entire main story in either 3D or 2D graphics means you are essentially getting two games in one, given how different the presentation and feeling of each style is. Combine this with solid turn-based combat, a well-written story, interesting characters, and upwards of 60 hours of gameplay, and you have the crafting recipe for a familiar but excellent game. It's no secret that the Dragon Quest games have always been a slave to tradition, but there is a sense of comfort in the naming conventions, sound effects, and overall design that continues to leave a lasting impression. Dragon Quest XI's was well worth the wait for Switch owners and absolutely worthy of the title Definitive Edition.
Number 5. Super Mega Baseball 2.
Listen, it's great that MLB The Show is apparently coming to Switch in a few years, but this system already has the greatest baseball game ever made, courtesy of Super Mega Baseball 2. This is the ultimate utility player of a sports game. First off, the art and animation provides ample personality to the players and teams, emboldened by names like Hammer Longballo and Dick Berger. Underneath that goofy veneer is gameplay and controls that are easy to grasp but dripping with nuance. You can toss a friend a controller and dive right in. Basic hitting and pitching is all simple. If you want something deeper, you can drown yourself in the particulars of a more simulation-like baseball experience where you bait hitters into swinging outside or take a few pitches to try and amp up the opponent's pitch count. Truth be told, the only thing it lacks is the MLB license, but it's perfect for those who like simulation or arcade games, but maybe aren't as into the MLB.
Number 4. Sayonara Wild Hearts. When Sayonara Wild Hearts was first revealed over a year ago, I wasn't totally sure what to make of it. The visuals were dazzling, but would this game that aspired to be a pop album deliver? The answer was yes, it will deliver in spades. Sayonara Wild Hearts is a brilliant visual pop album of a rhythm game that is an excellently mesmerizing ride. Front to back, this game is about an hour long, but with varied visuals and beats, there is nary a dull moment. While everything comes from the typical school of rhythm game button pushing to the beat gameplay, moments that call to mind shoot-em-ups or elite beat agents keep everything engaging and fun. The replayability is found in showcasing it to friends or just re-experiencing it for yourself, like you do if you get really into an album and listen to it on repeat.
Number 3, Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring The Legend of Zelda. Months later, it's still crazy that Nintendo teamed up with an indie developer to make Cadence of Hyrule. Even more crazy is the fact that Cadence of Hyrule is one of the best games of 2019. This sprite-based adventure mixes the rhythm roguelike design of Brace Yourself Games' Crypt of the Necrodancer with the classic stylings of 2D Zelda to make a beautiful game that leverages Zelda's classic soundtrack in an excellent way. At the forefront are the spectacular remixes from Danny Baranowski, as players have to go to the beat of each song along a grid that loosely resembles the Hyrule from A Link to the Past. Every beat represents a movement and action, and while playing as Link, Zelda, or Necrodancer, Harrow, and Candace, you have to make use of their varied abilities to get past a slew of tough battles and puzzles. 4 dungeons await your rhythmic adventuring, and thankfully, you can attack them all in different ways. Throw in a daily run, and Cadence has quite a bit of replay value. At the very least, we have a bunch of dope Zelda remixes in the world.
Number 2, Astral Chain.
Nintendo and Platinum have proven to be a wonderful partnership. From Nintendo offering to publish a sequel to Bayonetta to Platinum getting the opportunity to work on Nintendo's own IP, the fruits of these labors have finally arrived, and I could not imagine a more perfect game to come from this team-up than Astral Chain. Astral Chain is an instant classic in action games, evolving the formula to new heights with 2-player controlled characters at once, each with their own playstyles that complement each other. The different legions you collect through the game bring their own flavor with unique movesets from each other, and it all combines down into the most fun character action game I've ever played. Adding to the excellent combat are cute, entertaining side missions where you act as a service to your community, playing into the game's police officer setup, helping citizens with their problems and trying to make the city a better place. The silly, inconsequential tasks you complete for people outside of the main combat sections help to flesh out the world a little and give some relaxing contrast to the high-octane action that the average fight will give you. And of course, if they're not your thing, you can also just skip them and keep the action coming. Add all this up into one of the most bonkers anime-esque plots I've seen this side of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and you've got the most exciting game I played all year.
Number 1 and our game of the year is Fire Emblem 3 Houses. After being saved by its handheld entries, the Fire Emblem series finally made its return to the home console realm in 2019, and supplied perhaps too much Fire Emblem. The 4 paths through the main story put even Fates to shame, though blessedly, they don't require additional purchases to experience if you choose. 3 Houses focuses on a smaller, more developed cast whom you can legitimately have arguments over who the best husbando is. It's Dedue, by the way. If you disagree, meet me in the training grounds. The combat system is classic Fire Emblem, with refined versions of the modern conveniences like the ability to turn back the clock in battle. And it's the fact that Fire Emblem as a strategy game is so strong that allows it to hold up the story structure that we voted as one of the biggest disappointments of the year. I've played 3 Houses for over 80 hours, and my roommate has put in 5 times that. After being almost entirely non-existent on Wii U, RPGs have almost become the Switch's primary genre. Both console and computer RPGs are flooding to Nintendo Switch, and if you told me that even 3 years ago when Skyrim got announced, I would have howled laughing. Fire Emblem is one of the strongest playing RPGs on a system that has had Divinity Original Sin 2, The Witcher 3, Dragon Quest 3, and Final Fantasy 7 come to it in the last year. Given the propensity for Fire Emblem to overload with DLC, the $25 pass is positively restrained, but even the free updates have added significant story content and quality of life updates. If you enjoy torture, they've even added a maddening difficulty. Fire Emblem's decade started with being one bomb from death, and ends as a Game of the Year and multi-million seller, and it definitely deserves it. This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.